was right ready to get in there.
Okay.
I want to share a story. This is just fresh off of a phone call I had yesterday with the Henderson County Health Department leadership. Henderson County is a county in my congressional district in Western Illinois, the smallest county in my district by population, 6,500 people, but it's 400 square miles. And if you do that math real quickly, we're talking about 17 people per square mile. Let me tell you a little bit about the challenges that they've had with the COVID vaccination. They had all of 2 phone lines throughout the whole health department where they could take appointments. That's it. There were no online options because this is a rural county. Many people do not have broadband. So they don't have the infrastructure even to set up an appointment. So they got a little more money. So now they have 4 phone lines. And they've got a total of, for this entire county, 11 staff. They do have a volunteer corps where it seems like the average age is somewhere around 80 years old of the volunteer corps. They want to provide mobile vaccine clinics in their communities, but they don't have the staff to do it. They don't have the volunteers really who can go out and do that. And I share that with you as just one story, but really something like this is all too common in rural America. And despite all of Congress's support through COVID relief, we clearly need to do more and find new ways to support these kind of communities that are smaller and more rural. So here's my question. Other than mobile units, have you seen any innovative ideas or best practices in other rural communities that we can share and help some of the smaller counties, not just in my congressional district, but all over the country, where they can stand up more vaccine sites and make vaccine appointments that are more accessible? If we can start there, and I welcome anybody to answer that question.
Go ahead.
No, I would just comment that NACCHO is an incredible resource for model practices of this type. And so I would ask the NACCHO staff to provide you with whatever they've learned, because you're right. These are issues that we're seeing across local health departments serving our rural communities. And one of the strengths of NACCHO is really sharing those best practices so they can be replicated. So we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, and I would actually similarly, ASTHO has, from across the states, a number of different models that also would be of use, and our staff at ASTHO can also get that information to you. Just as an aside, 2 weeks ago, I was able to go to Spokane on the eastern side of Washington, and then down to the Tri-Cities area, which is southeast Washington, and then to Yakima, and then coming over the Cascade Mountains back into the Seattle Olympia area. And I think you're absolutely right that what's happening in rural areas, and NACCHO represents the vast majority, Jennifer will attest to, our rural, frontier, and smaller jurisdictions, that the themes may be similar, but the solutions and the real how to bring people together have to be very methodical and intentional. And one thing that I saw was very successful was the use of the pharmacy partners. Pharmacies within those smaller jurisdictions still are very good partners, and they are absolutely able to do appointments and do all sorts of things. So I do think that is another, a practice that we should also be thinking about, is how do we look at those partners that are already on the ground and really help support them, which is obviously the role of states. But when Jennifer speaks of what NACCHO and the local health jurisdictions do, that's absolutely what we have to do, is working federal, state, local, all throughout the system with our partners.
And are there other partner organizations that you've seen specific to the rural areas that we might want to explore in addition to the pharmacists and the pharmacies?
Yeah, well, so as Congresswoman Herb Butler had brought up at the very end there, is that we're also, I think the states can also be, as well as locals, be very intentional about mass vaccination sites, because that, I think, is also helpful in the rural areas. We also have to be thinking, as the news came out this morning about the J&J vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, because of the one dose, that may also, we've asked and this is something very important, our federal partners to give us guidance on where the best setting and best use, best population to be able to use that vaccine, because it's a one-dose vaccine. And so in rural areas, it may make sense that that would be a vaccine that would be optimized. So anyway, there are a lot of these issues with ag workers and those who are migrant farm workers that we have to really be addressing, as well as the partners that are already in those areas.
Very good, Madam Chair. My time is out. I yield back. Thank you.
I would just want to say is if we can get those documents from Nacho and from AASHTO, et cetera, on work in the rural areas, I think it would be critically important to our entire, to every member, and what we may try to deal with in terms of